Welcome to Rom Wills Money Matters. Retail sales is a show. Retail sales is a show. And this is very important for business to understand because, people talk trash about retail and yeah, it could grate on you, but you can make a lot of money, especially as a business owner. 70% of the economy is consumer spending. Where are they spending that money? The vast majority of that consumption is in retail places. And even though there was always talk about, online sales and everything, people still going in stores. And as, we come away from the mask mandates and lockdowns, people going back to the stores. There's been a dip in online sales. Just simply because people want to go out. People are thinking that's the future and they're just going to stay home. It's like, no, people want to interact. So, anyway, let's say you have a retail place. Let's say you have a retail place somewhere. It's a show. And I remember I learned that when I was working in this first time I was really working retail. Now I had did some vending before, definitely had experience, over 10 years experience vending when I worked at this retail spot. It was an African themed store in Greenbelt, Maryland. Beautiful sister was running it. And I never forget what she told me because she was giving me lessons and do's and don'ts. And I never forget what she said to me. She said, it's a show. Because when someone comes in, you got to give them that great customer service. You have to dress a certain way. Like one of the things she did, she made sure I was able to get, because I was coming in kind of dressed like this at first. And she said, no, we selling African clothing in here. She hooked me up at a discount with some African clothing that I needed to wear. I could still wear this every now and then, but on serious days, I needed to wear, the African clothing and everything. That's cool. Because what she said is it's a show. When that customer comes in, you won. Because let's just be real. Customer service is a big deal in retail establishments or any establishment where you're dealing with people. And sometimes when that person's smiling at you, shoot, they might not want to even talk to you in the real world. But when they come in that store, shoot, you're trying to get a sale, so you got to make them feel good. You got to make them feel good. There's a certain way you got to do. There's a certain way you got to present yourself. And because as soon as they get in there, yeah, they're looking for stuff. But then a big thing that helps with sales is how you connect to the customer. So it is a show. It is a show. And I mean, you might have to say, hey, how you doing? And talk to them. In fact, it's such a show and it's such an interaction. There's times I might just walk through a particular store. And I'm, window shopping, of course. Like I remember a few weeks ago, I was walking through this store and I was looking for artwork for my new space. Some stuff, put on the walls. And not a single person who worked there said a word to me. I was walking through with my sons. Not a single person like, hey, how you doing? And all of that. I was like, when I got out, I told my sons, whenever you go in some place and they don't acknowledge you, they don't talk to you, unless you need something, I said, no, I didn't even say unless. I said, unless you have an absolute emergency, you gotta get something. Don't get it from there. But if that was the case, of course, I would go in and ask. But if you just window shopping, you don't know how much of it you might be convinced to buy something just by some friendly customer service, or just a smile, something. Hey, how you doing? Anything you're looking for in particular? Might crack a joke or something. You got to flow with it, but it's a show. And like I said, and you got to do that several times a day. It's not just you just sit there. That's one of the worst things. You need to walk around. In the African place, we had music playing and everything, so we'd be grooving sometime. And, people would come in And you gotta have that. Sometimes you joke around. That does a lot for sales, because a big part of sales is making a personal connection with the people. That's a big part of sales. That's a big part. Sometimes I've been caught with it. Sometimes I might not want to buy anything, but somebody's real cool. I say, oh, let me show them some love. Like, I'll do that with vendors sometimes. And if they have something that I could possibly use, and they real cool, I say, you know what, let me get that. And sometimes I've gotten stuff, and it wasn't even for me. I give it to a lady friend or something, or get something for my sons, or even my co-parent. Because I say I appreciate customer service. And part of that is the show. You know, as soon as that door opens, that you on stage, it's the show. In fact, when I was working at the major retail department store, the general manager said that it's the show. It's showtime. You know, you got to put on that smiley face. You got to be gregarious and all of that. You have to engage the customer. You know, like I said, one of the worst things is when you go into some place and they don't acknowledge you. In fact, that show, I'm going to tell you how good that show is. And I've talked about this, I think I talked about this when I was talking about vending before. I read this one story. I went to this place. It was a vending show. It was outside. It was in Columbia, Maryland. And this was back in the day. And even though I had my government job and everything, was I working? I don't think I got the job at the gym yet. So it was tight because I was living in an upscale apartment. So it was tight for a brother. You know, government don't pay like that. So it was like, okay, all the bills, had student loans I was paying. So I was like, it was tight. So this was supplementing my income. And, you know, I was starting my publishing business. So I went to this one show. It was an outdoor festival. That's how broke I was. I had just enough gas to get there and maybe back. I went up there, I had no money in my pocket. No money. And this is back in the day. This before, you know, you could swipe credit cards easily and stuff on your phone. And I was, came up there, no money. Then couldn't even eat. I couldn't even eat. I think I might have been able to bring some water. Couldn't afford to eat. No money on me. I had a good time because I put on a show. And I was selling like booklets and stuff for booklets and a small novel, one of my first books I put out. And what I was selling was for $1, $2, and $3. And that was cheap even by 90 standards. That was cheap. I made well over $100. Because I would just have fun, because I didn't sit down. I wasn't like, oh, buy this. Like, just a quick thing, if you vending, stand up. That's one thing when I vend. Only time I'm sitting down is when I'm eating, because it's the show. And usually somebody would always bother me when I was eating. But I would never, because a lot of vendors will just sit there and just be, hey, how you doing at best? And sometimes they don't say that. But I would be up engaging people. Then when I get a sale, I start dancing, and there were some young girls next to me and stuff. And I even pulled a woman who was another vendor there. Pulled one. But I would just dance and everything. I make a sale, then I dance. And that would draw people over because I was just having a good time. The show. Like I said, I ain't having any money. I walked out of there, $100, $200, at least $100. And that was a while ago, but at least $100. I was able to buy some food. Cause seriously, I walked in there, I was like, man, I might have to starve today if I don't make some money. Give change and all of that. But what I did, I put on the show. So if you in sales, you in any type of sales, retail sales, and trust me, it's still a great business. I know some people saying, oh, it's online. They're not in the business. People like to interact. It's the show. And seriously, a lot of people just shop just so to interact with people. That might be the only interaction they get. So you put on the show. All right? So anyway, that's all for now. I'll get back with y'all. Let's go make that money.